disclaimer and some housekeeping before we jump into the market outlook. Everything that I'll be covering in today's session are solely based on my personal point of view, and they do not directly translate to any sort of a financial advice or trade signals. Okay. So usual, I'll run through the outlook for the week, highlight some of the opportunities available, as well as trade ideas. But first up here, we'll be looking at the overview of the week. Okay. Give me a while. I think this is a little bit slow. Let me just refresh and see if this loads up. Okay. Would like to pull out the events calendar for the week. But since it's loading, I'm just gonna have like verbally mention it. Now this week, overall event is slightly less as compared to last week. For this week events calendar, the focus is gonna be very much on the Canadian side of things. Okay, on Tuesday we have the CAT CPI. And on Friday, we have the Canadian retail sales, right? So if you're trading anything related to the CAD, just expect a little bit more volatility coming in, okay? Since that's loading, I think I'll just jump straight to the chart to walk through the opportunities and the outlook, okay? Dollar index, okay? Dollar index over here, I'm overall bearish. Here we may get some sort of a decent bounce back towards this area here. Okay, to break it as market, this can just lead break to completing this as an. So if that's going to be the case, then within intra week, we may get an opportunity to see a buy side of things as a short term. And as market enter back into the territory around 103.60, we'll be looking at the sell side. Okay, so fundamentally, going into the end of this year, we'll be looking at bearish dollar. There's a very high possibility the Fed would start cutting rates next month. Obviously, if the Fed doesn't cut rate next month, we'll be seeing the dollar strengthening quite significantly because that's going to be September cut already. Okay, so that's something to know on the dollar perspective. This week, the dollar is generally going to be quiet. Not much event taking place. Okay, going into the euro, I'm looking at the euro dollar as a potential 5-wave structure, ending diagonal in the development. Okay, so we 3, 4, and potentially 5th wave developing. If that's going to be the case, then short term at least we can expect a little bit more downside first, right? So right now I'm neutral, but I'll be more inclined to look for sell opportunity. I don't want to be buying into this kind of structure here. Even as this year potentially double top. Okay, so euro dollar, I'm gonna be patient, but I'm slanting towards looking out for sell trade opportunity. GBP USD, I'm gonna be neutral here. Nothing much that we can really analyze because the recent move is simply an impulsive move to the upside. So we'll wait and see what's next. If the market give us a corrective pullback, then obviously we'll be looking for more upside. Any other setup, we'll just continue to be patient and neutral. Okay, so this one here, I think this week is more of a waiting game, not much on dollar. Okay, not much on pound dollar. Aussie dollar is very much slow. Okay, so to the upside, I think we'll just be patient. Wait for a decent corrective pullback before kind of committing to any particular trade. Okay, so I think this week, the Aussie dollar here would likely just remain neutral, remain patient, wait for price to develop first. Okay. Then we have the dollar CAD. Dollar CAD, again, something to know because tomorrow we have the CAD CPI. So that data is obviously important. It might create some volatility in the market. Such important news often can very, very quickly shift the impulsive leg in the chart, right? So right now what we have is a little bit of a diagonalish kind of a pattern structure. So I'm a little bit neutral. I would love to just wait until tomorrow's CPI, see how price is going to react of it, then only really look at the clarity of the pattern development, right? Because tomorrow, if the market just decides to bounce back up, then obviously we'll be looking at this as a cycle to the downside, and then we'll expect a little bit more pullback, then maybe down again. If tomorrow news just decides to make another impulsive leak to the downside, then there's really nothing much. We'll just continue to remain patient. Yeah, so really depends on how price would react off tomorrow's CPI, right? So this $1 cat, I'm just gonna be on the sidelines for now. Testing the 50 and the 618 Fibonacci ratio in the upside. I'm kind of expecting it to develop a three-wave correction here as a WXY. So this one, I want to just maybe give it by end of today, going to tomorrow, see how price is going to react off that 50 and 618. If you can get a decent bounce off the 50 and 618 fit, then we can start to look out for opportunities to jump in for a buy trade. This one here with a target somewhere back towards the zone around what. So that will be the directional bias on the dollar yen, right? Pretty clear right now. The idea is you just give it a little bit more time, wait for that confirmation bounce of the 50 and the 618. Okay. Gold did a break above the high. So kind of, forming new highs here, all-time high. If you ask me, macro fundamental perspective, long-term perspective, definitely bullish. But from a trading point of view, you might want to just be neutral right now. See how the market is going to react off this break, right? Because we have an impulsive break. If the market just decides to reverse back down, that can easily just build in as a big break, and we might get a deeper pullback to retest the low here. Okay, so you want to be patient. Wait out for that confirmation. Of course, if the market just decides to come down correctively, then that will open up more upside, right? So at the end of the day, things like that, you probably just want to give it some time, see how price is going to develop moving forward. Maybe take a couple of days. When you get a clear pattern structure that only will commit to a particular direction, that will be more conservative and that will be safer. Okay. Next one here is crude oil. Okay. I'm bullish overall. The market is currently being supported around that 50% fib. Pretty decent as well. We may get an opportunity to maybe get a buy trade set up as soon as tomorrow. Bear in mind we also have a little bit of convenience of things. Okay. But this one, if you go down to the lower time frame on a H1, okay, we may get a setup as soon as tomorrow if we can get price to break and close above that neckline, right? So we have a little bit of a double bottom kind of development as of now. If we can get a break above 77.6 next session tomorrow, that will start to have a buy trade opportunity to look for the outside, right? So crude oil here, definitely you want to keep a close eye on it. Okay, opportunities may be building up pretty soon. S&P 500 I think with that strong recovery, we're definitely more on the bullish bias here. But again, buying at the very, very top may not be the best way of entering, simply because of how you're going to structure risk. So my take is always wait for the pullback. If you can get a layer of confluences where we have that structure in line, right, would be, I don't see a reason not to. If the of interest rate, that would also be supportive of the overseas market in the US. From a mental point of view, cloud points towards a active pullback on S&P, or if you're looking at Nasdaq or Dow Jones, very likely you'll be one. I'll skip out the pound yen as well as the odd yen. I think these two yen pairs, nothing really much there. If you're gonna be interested in trading the yen, I will personally be more in favor of keeping close watch on dollar yen. Okay, because I think dollar yen structure is a little bit cleaner as compared to the pound yen as well as the odd yen, right? And since the yen pairs are very, very closely correlated, you don't want to be overly exposed on that as well. Okay, and let's take a look at the pound odd. Okay, now pound odd over here, I'm gonna be, okay, we have this impulsive leg, price breaks that, corrective development seems like we are getting a push down already. Or the right thing you want to be careful on is that, price can actually break this and comes back up, right? Oftentimes Monday movement in the market may not be very genuine. It may go one particular direction and then, Tuesday it starts to reverse and things like that. So when we get some kind of a break without much momentum on the Monday market, just be slightly cautious. Bearish bias. The only thing here is perhaps, where are you gonna look for that sell setup? Okay, for me, back before getting involved in it. Okay. Next up is Euro CAD. So Euro CAD here, obviously we have the Canadian data coming in tomorrow and Friday, so that can be a catalyst to ideally push this down. From a technical standalone, EuroCAD here is definitely bearish, right? We're anticipating a 1, 2, 3 simple three-leg WXY. Price reacted off the technical here. We're looking at downside. Tomorrow is the Canadian data support, right? Can very nicely come down, right? So this one here, I do have a setup already in place on the lower time frame. I'm in the trade. The only thing I'm a little bit not, we're really getting very, very close to the, such high impact news can easily, I may actually decide to just, either shift stops to break even or get it out at tiny bit of a profit or even break even and then let the news play out and then come back again. Right? But if you are talking about standalone from a technical point of view here, we are bearish bias. Okay. Then last but not least, we have Bitcoin. Okay, so Bitcoin is pretty clear for me. On the high time frame perspective, we're definitely bullish. If you take a look at how the pattern structure is developing, we have impulse leg, very nice 1, 2, 3. If I put that in, okay, that will be a WXY. Pretty decent bounce. Whether this correction is complete or not, the confirmation is if you can get a break impulsively out of that swing high, then this trade is more or less confirmed, completed. Okay. The only thing to be cautious here, of course, is this tree leg can be just a cycle of one. And then of course we can go up a little bit and then maybe make another move down before the push up, right? Very possible. So Bitcoin is another trade that I'm already in. This one is running in some decent profits. I've shift stops to break even. Okay. So we'll see, right? But if you ask me longer term perspective, if I zoom out a little bit more on Bitcoin, definitely bullish, right? Definitely bullish. especially, right, the market take out that low, immediately bounce off, kind of a little bit of a forced break, washing out the weak hands. So looking at how things are developing here from a technical chart perspective, okay? So I would say any sort of a buy setup here, because if this really takes off, I think the upside here would potentially see an all-time high, okay? So that's the overview for this week. Not, to be honest, not a lot of things on the table right now. But definitely we have to put that in focus. With the dollar again, potentially setting up something with the Canadian pairs that we can look to trade off the news. And